Hey guys, today we're in the Aerial Media Pro studio taking a look at the new DJI Ronin-M, which is a 3-axis stabilization gimbal built for DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, and professional camcorders. So in this video we're going to be covering a quick unboxing so you have an idea of what to expect inside the package, as well as a quick start guide to walk you through setting up your Ronin-M, balancing it, and configuring it so you can start practicing those smooth shots in no time. So first things first, we noticed that unlike the original Ronin, the Ronin-M does not come with its very own hard protective case. The Ronin-M is a smaller unit, and so by actually not including the case, it's about the third the size of the original Ronin cases. So let's go ahead and open it up. This will be just your standard DJI product packaging, cardboard and foam. First thing on the inside, you notice the user manual, and underneath it, a quick start guide, which we'll be running through in a second. Foam inserts, and underneath you'll find the Ronin-M gimbal unit. Slide that out carefully, and this will be your tuning stand for when you need to take a break in between shots, or when you're initially setting up your Ronin, you'll use this to get it all tuned and configured. Slide these guys out here. These will be your left and right handlebars that will screw into the main unit. Remove the foam piece here. You got a small bag with some good stuff in it. This will be your lens support mount. Some hex keys for the camera mount, as well as some other hexes along the main unit. Last but not least, last item is the screws for the camera mounting plate, so that you have the ability to screw pretty much any camera you want to on this plate here. This will be your camera mounting plate. Over here on this side, got this one, and this guy here. These will go on the ends of the handlebars so you can hold the Ronin securely. The Ronin-M controller for when you're doing dual operator. And this will be the handle for the top of the main unit, which the handlebars will screw into there. To the left here, you got your single battery. And it looks like last here, you have your charger. And a cable in the corner, which is USB to micro USB, and that's it. So let's get started with the setup. We'll begin with charging. Alright, so now we got everything laid out nice and neat here. We're going to start with charging the battery. You got your charger and power cable. Go ahead and plug the power cable into the back of the charger here, and plug this end into the wall for power. After that's into the wall, you're going to grab your battery, and this will slide right back into the back of the battery here. We'll let that sit there. You'll see some white LEDs on the battery letting you know that it's charging, and those will turn off once the battery is charged. If you ever need to check the status of the battery in the field, go ahead and press that power button once and it'll show you the status. And if you press the power button once and then hold for 1 second, it'll turn the battery on, as well as if it's plugged into the gimbal, it'll turn the gimbal on. So while that's charging, we're going to go ahead and deploy our tuning stand. Take off the secure Velcro here. You're going to start with these outside bars here. Go ahead and press these lock knobs here and just bring them out. And this will make your base. Same thing for the top. Just press the little buttons and bring them up. Nice and secure. Go ahead and make sure this knob in the back is nice and tight. And then this center button will bring the whole neck of the tuning stand up until it locks in place there. there you go, that's good to go. Next, let's set up the handlebars. We've got our main center connection piece here. Go ahead and take these, slide it into the side, and twist to secure. Make sure those are nice and tight as well. Same thing with this side. They just slide in and twist to secure. And these handles have been designed so that when they're attached to the handlebar, they'll be angled out as shown, but you could really fix it any way you need to. But we prefer to have it like this on the end. Go ahead and twist that red knob here to tighten it up. Same thing with the other side. Make sure it's facing the right direction. And twist the red knob to tighten. So we're going to put that on the tuning stand here, just like that. Next, we'll move on to our main gimbal unit here. I got this nice Velcro strap again to keep all the motors secure and the gimbal in place. So after removing that, the gimbal will just release itself like this. And this is a quick release mount that will go on the bottom of the handles here. As you can see, it has this bronze button here so when it slides into the handlebars, it's going to lock in place. But first we have to unscrew this red tab here. And as this bar is facing forward, make sure the bronze button is facing towards you. And it should slide right in. And you'll hear that clicking sound. Go ahead and tighten that red tab up. And it's all good to go. So before we put a camera on here, we got to make sure the battery is attached so that it balances correctly. So we'll say the battery's all charged. You're going to loosen up these thumb screws here. Make sure there's enough space for the guides here. You're just going to slide it in there, lean it forward, push it down, and it'll slide straight down. And you can just tighten those thumb screws up. There's no clicking or anything, it just slides into place. It's all good to go, nice and secure in there. Now for the camera, we're going to start with the 5D Mark III because this has a larger lens and we can use the lens support bracket for that. So we'll start with the camera mounting plate and make sure you have your screw for the plate that fits the camera size that you need. Let's get our lens support bracket out. And the camera base plate should sit pretty center on the camera, but because we have this 24-70 lens that's pretty heavy, and the 5D, it's actually going to sit the second hole in from the back of the base plate. So we'll tighten that up here. Grab the hex key from the bag. Nice and tight. And hopefully your lens support does not obstruct your focus in case you're doing some sort of follow focus for the shot or something like that. You need to have that available and available to turn. Alright, so that's nice and tight. Set that down on its side there. So this is a quick release system and you have this tab on the side so that when the camera does slide in and if it's loose it won't fall out from the quick release here. And then you have this another tab on the side to make sure that it actually is locking in place. So make sure that's loose. Grab your camera. Go ahead and slide it back onto the plate. And it'll click in place. First thing you want to just do a quick initial check on the forward and aft movement of the camera. Make sure that's at least close to balanced. So we'll hold the roll motor here just to make sure it's close. Alright, so that feels pretty good. We'll lock that tab on the side. Make sure that's nice and tight so it's not sliding around on the plate. Alright, so the goal of balancing the gimbal is not so that it stays horizontal like this. It's so that when you move it any direction, 360s, whatever you're trying to do, it will stay in that place once you let go. But as you can see, it's not staying in the same place. So We'll start with the tilt motor here. Put the camera on its back. Undo these red tabs here on the sides. And you're going to want to move this forward and back to make sure that when the camera's sitting on its back, it will stay in the same place and not move. You can hold the roll motor just to stabilize the entire gimbal and make sure that you're working with the right axis. So that looks pretty good. So tighten those up. Alright, as you can see, our roll axis is a little off. So we're going to take and undo these red tabs. Make sure that the entire plate system can move left and right. And you will adjust that. It's pretty close. We really want it just to stay in that position. So it looks like it's a little left. So there's also an axis back here for the pan motor. And the way you adjust that is by undoing this tab here. And they've created this new system for balancing this. You turn right to bring the unit backwards and left to bring it forwards. And the goal here is so that when you line it up with the handlebar, if you were to lean it up, see how the gimbal starts to move down a little bit? It's already pretty balanced, but let's see. If I were to really turn it right and put it in the back of the balance there, I'll turn the arm up and see how it goes down towards the bottom. And the goal is for it to sit right with the handlebar there. So I'll show you the other way around. If I were to twist it all the way left, and get it too far forward, it'll come towards the top. Let's see if this is enough to do it. So I'll have it sitting here, lean up, sure enough, it sits right at the top there. So we've got to make sure that's nice and balanced, and you just want to inch that towards the balance point. Test it every couple seconds. That's close, but at least you know where it's going. Bring it down a little bit. So that feels pretty good. It's not really moving. So now that we've got through each axis one time, you're going to want to go through 2, maybe 3 more times and just make sure everything is adjusted and balanced perfectly on each axis so that the gimbal can work perfectly, and no matter where you put the camera, it's going to stay in that same position. But as you can see, we still got some more work to do, so we'll move on to the next part once we get this gimbal perfectly stabilized. So we got the Ronin-M all balanced for the 5D setup. So with each axis here, you can see that the camera will stay in the same place no matter where we put it. You're going to want to make sure before you balance it that all the gear that you're going to be using with the camera is already on. So mics, LEDs, cords, any sort of thing that will be on the camera has to be on there before you balance it, or you're going to have to start the process all over again. So we're going to move on to configuring it with the DJI Assistant app. Go ahead and power on the Ronin by pressing once and then holding for 1 second. And you'll see the white LEDs come on. And then we're going to take our Android or our phone or even our PC or Mac and launch the DJI Assistant app. So after you've downloaded the DJI Assistant app, go ahead and make sure your Bluetooth is on your device, and then connect your mobile device to the Ronin-M on the front page. If you're using the app for the first time, you will be prompted to register using a valid email address, but we've already done that, so we're going to move forward. First, go ahead and click on Viewer on the bottom bar. On the Viewer page, you're going to be checking the balance. If a particular mode axis indicates a power greater than 10, then you're going to have to go back and rebalance the camera. So with the Ronin-M on the tuning stand and you've ensured that the camera is properly balanced, go ahead to the bottom bar again and click Gimbal, and next Motor, and select Auto Tune Stability. And this will just be performing an auto configuration to make sure the stiffness of the motors is correct and that it's using the least amount of power as possible. The numbers next to the pan, tilt, and roll in terms of power should be as close to 0 as possible. Go ahead to the bottom bar again and click Gimbal to Smooth Track now. And as you can see, the pan smooth track and the tilt smooth track are both on, and the roll smooth track is off. With the pan and tilt smooth track, what that means is as you move the gimbal without any sort of thumb controller, the camera will slowly follow your motions according to the settings that you have in place. If that's off, then the gimbal will just be locked on a particular direction and will not move in any sort of way. So if it's common that you're going to be shooting with just one gimbal operator, you're going to want to keep those pan and tilt smooth tracks on. So moving below that, we go to the smooth track adjustments. For each axis we have speed, deadband, and acceleration. And speed will be controlling the top speed at which the camera will be following and tracking your movements. So as we move this to a higher number, it's going to be tracking with you much faster. And as you can see, when we move it to a lower number, it's going to be tracking you slower. With deadband, that's actually an angle number, and that will be the amount of angle you need in order for the camera to begin tracking with you. So if this angle is smaller, the camera is going to be tracking with you right away with any sort of minor movements that you might be making. And if it's bigger, of course, then it will take a lot more of a turn before it starts reacting. And the acceleration will simply be that reaction time. So once it hits the deadband, it's going to be how quickly it responds to your movements. And then below that we have the tests for each axis, so go ahead and go through each of those. We'll do the pan speed here, and then tilt speed, and then lastly roll speed. So depending on what you have in terms of smooth track adjustments in the speed category for these axes, these will be the maximum speed that the camera will be tracking with you. If after auto-tune stability you decide to manually increase the stiffness of the motors based on high winds or your environment on set, you will notice that the motors will begin to shake or vibrate. So you're going to want to keep that stiffness down enough so that the motors aren't working so hard to keep the camera in place. So that should be all that you need to know to get set up and started with the Ronin-M. If you want a more in-depth look at the DJI Assistant App, or if you're trying to run a second controller, go ahead and check out this video. In the meantime, we look forward to seeing what you guys will be creating with the Ronin-M, so feel free to give us a shout out on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And if you're still thinking about it, we definitely recommend this new system, and it is available for order at aerialmediapros.com. But until then, we will see you next time.